They told you to be nice, to be soft, to be liked. And you believed them because you were trying to survive. So you built a mask, polite, agreeable, always smiling. For some, the leader might act You swallowed your anger, you shrank your voice. You hid your ambition, your edge, your instincts, all to fit in. But here's the brutal truth. The version of you that they liked was the version they could control. The version that stayed quiet, that waited, that served. And now, you're waking up. You're done being who they molded. Because deep down, you know something they hope you never realize. That the world doesn't reward the nice, it rewards the necessary. It rewards the one who's willing to burn everything, even himself, to rise. And that's exactly what this video is. Not a motivation speech, but a fire. To burn the old you, the soft you, the you that begged for permission, and forge something else, something dangerous. Niccolò Machiavelli didn't survive by being kind. He survived by adapting, by pretending when needed, and then striking when it counted. That's the law we follow here. Ruthless reinvention, no apologies, no softness, no turning back. So if you feel something waking up in you right now, if you feel like it's finally time to destroy the mask you've worn for too long, then say this out loud in the comments. I am not here to be liked. I am here to become untouchable. Type it, claim it, burn the old version. This is mental fort, and you're about to become someone they'll regret underestimating. Part 1. The weakness of your former identity. You weren't born weak. You were trained to be, trained to please, trained to explain, trained to earn space in rooms where you should have walked in like you owned them. That version of you, the one that waits to be noticed, that seeks permission, that asks if it's okay to be strong, is a product of survival, not strategy. Look back at your life. At every moment you swallowed the truth just to keep the peace. At every fake laugh, every forced apology, every time you said, "It's fine," when it wasn't. That wasn't power, that was submission. And you called it personality. But Machiavelli would have called it a liability. Because in the game of power, your identity is either a weapon or a leash. And yours? It was built for other people's comfort, not your dominance. Every nice guy trait you clung to was a brick in your own mental prison. You gave them the blueprint to break you. And they did, over and over, until now. You want change? Stop here. Everything you are today was built by decisions you made to survive pain, not to build power. And that's why it must die. Not gradually, not gently, but brutally. Cut off access, cut off habits, cut off who you think you are. Because the longer you hold on to this watered-down version of yourself, the longer you stay in the hands of people who benefit from your weakness. The man you were is not the man you need to become. So bury him. If you're done being a reaction to pain and ready to become a weapon forged in it, then type this in the comments right now. The weak version of me is dead. Strategy starts now. Say it. Mean it. Because this is mental fort, and that old identity, it won't survive what's coming next. Fear, but out of dependence. And once that happens, you're no longer chasing money or respect. You're setting the frame they live inside. That's real financial power. It doesn't scream. It shapes reality, quietly. The end game, power without noise. So now you understand. Money isn't just numbers in a bank. It's not about big houses or fast cars. It's about how you move, how you build, and how you make others move without a single word. Machiavelli never chased riches to feel successful. He studied how money controlled behavior, exposed weakness, and shaped the world quietly. And now, so do you. You know that real power doesn't come from being rich. It comes from being unshakable, without money, and dangerous with it. You build wealth without needing applause. You give without losing your position. You move with intention, not to impress, but to stay in control. You've stopped seeing money as a finish line. It's now your tool, your filter, your weapon. And the moment you stop needing it to feel powerful, you become someone no one can control. The room listens when you speak, but it obeys when you're silent. Because now you don't flex wealth. You embody it. You don't run after opportunity. You design it. You don't prove anything to the world. You let the world adjust to you. And that's the final law of Machiavellian money. Stay quiet, stay structured, stay in position. Let them wonder how you did it. Let them whisper how you made it look easy. Let them feel the pressure, not from your voice, but from your presence. Because when you reach this level, you don't chase wealth. You become the source of it. And in a world ruled by illusion, the one who understands money rules everything. Part 2. Withdraw to rebuild power. You've been too available, too explainable, too visible, too loud. They knew where to find you, what to expect from you, how to get a reaction. And that's why they never respected you. Predictability kills power, familiarity breeds contempt. Now it's time to disappear, not as a victim, but as a strategist. Withdrawal isn't weakness, it's recalibration. It's how predators prepare, not by attacking blindly, but by vanishing, observing, studying patterns, and sharpening claws in silence. You've been out here leaking energy, fighting battles that weren't even yours, justifying your value to people who never saw it in the first place. That ends today. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. True strength is built in the shadows, because when people don't know what you're doing, they fear what you might do. They start second-guessing, projecting, spiraling. And that's when your silence becomes psychological warfare. While they gossip, you grind. While they watch, you work. And when you return, you're no longer the same man. Withdraw to upgrade. Withdraw to strip yourself of weakness. Withdraw to destroy the emotional habits that made you predictable. You don't owe explanations. You owe yourself transformation. And here's the truth most won't admit. They miss you most when you're no longer easily accessible. Not because they love you, but because they loved controlling the version of you that never said no. Let that version die. Start giving your time the value of gold. Give your energy a gate, not an open door. Because the man who disappears and returns more focused, more dangerous, more detached, is the man who becomes unforgettable. So if you're ready to vanish from the weak version of yourself, type this in the comments now. I withdraw to build power, not to seek peace. Let them wonder. Let them guess. You're not hiding. You're evolving. Part 3. Stop explaining, start controlling. You've been taught that explaining yourself is polite, that giving reasons shows maturity, that if people misunderstand you, it's your job to correct them. But that idea, it's how they keep you tame. Every time you over-explain, you give away leverage. You expose your thoughts, you show your emotions. You open a door, and people walk right in with judgment, assumptions, manipulation. And worse, you invite them to shape your identity. That's not strength. That's emotional dependency disguised as transparency. You don't need to explain why you've cut certain people off, why you've gone silent, why you've changed your tone. They'll get the message through your absence. And if they don't, that's their problem, not yours. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this. He knew that power belongs to those who control the narrative. And often, the most powerful narrative is silence. You think you're being kind by explaining your every move. You're not. You're weakening your position. You're teaching people how to access your mind. And once they know your reasons, they learn your patterns. And once they know your patterns, they control you. You want respect? Withdraw your reasons. Let your actions confuse them. Let your progress speak louder than your explanations ever could. Because mystery is not the absence of communication, it's the presence of control. Let them wonder why you didn't show up. Let them ask themselves what your silence means. Let them question what changed in you. That discomfort, that uncertainty, it builds power because now you're in their head. People can't attack what they can't read. They can't predict what they don't understand. They can't control what doesn't explain itself. You don't owe your past an explanation. You don't owe your family one. You don't owe your critics closure. You owe yourself progress. You owe yourself results. You owe yourself peace. And that peace begins when you stop needing to be understood. In a world obsessed with visibility, disappear. In a world addicted to noise, become silence. And in a world full of performers, become the strategist who never shows his full hand. This is where your transformation begins. When you stop explaining your moves and start executing them with ruthless clarity. So if you're done bleeding energy through unnecessary conversations, if you're ready to move in silence and dominate through presence, drop this in the comments right now. I don't explain, I execute. Say it like a command. Say it like a law. Because from this moment on, that's who you are. Part 4. Become cold without becoming bitter. You've been burned, used, betrayed, forgotten, underestimated. And now, the natural instinct is to build walls with rage, to let the bitterness take over, to become cold and cruel. But here's the difference between the powerful and the broken. The powerful become cold, but never bitter. Bitterness is still emotional. It still wants revenge. It still reacts. It still bleeds. But coldness? That's strategic. That's controlled. That's psychological armor. When Machiavelli advised rulers to appear virtuous while mastering deception, he wasn't telling them to be angry. He was telling them to be efficient. And bitterness is never efficient. It clouds judgment. It wastes energy thinking about people who are no longer relevant. It turns you into a prisoner of the past. You don't need to punish those who hurt you. You punish them by becoming untouchable, by being the person they can't reach, can't shake, can't break, by refusing to give them the gift of your reaction. Coldness is silence with intention. It's detachment with direction. It's the ability to feel everything, but show nothing. Not because you're numb, but because you've evolved. You used to cry to be understood. Now you smile while being misunderstood. You used to overthink how they felt. Now you study how they react. Because this version of you doesn't need closure. It needs control. So here's your rule. Be kind, be composed, be respectful. But never be emotionally available for people who disrespect your boundaries. Let them talk, let them beg, let them pretend they didn't cross the line. You've already decided. You're done bleeding for people who would never even offer a bandage. Being cold doesn't mean you hate them. It means you finally love yourself more. It means your emotions are no longer up for public auction. It means your power has become internal, not dependent on their reaction, validation, or regret. And when they realize they can no longer affect you, they'll call you cold. Because cold is calm. Cold is clarity. Cold is control. If this spoke to you like a mirror you couldn't look away from, then comment this now. I'm not bitter. I'm cold, clear, and done. Say it as your declaration, because cold doesn't mean broken. It means rebuilt, by fire, by silence, by choice. Part 5. The power of no contact. No contact isn't distance. It's dominance. People think silence is avoidance. They think walking away is weakness. But that's because they've only seen weak people do it. People who run to escape confrontation, not to control it. But when you do it, with power, with calculation, with finality, it changes everything. Machiavelli believed that when your enemy is confused, you control their movements. And silence, full, clean, emotionless silence, creates confusion better than any argument ever could. No contact isn't passive, it's an active strategy of psychological warfare. You're not avoiding them, you're suffocating their access to your energy. You're removing the mirror they use to validate themselves. Because here's the truth. Most people don't miss you. They miss what you gave them. The attention, the reaction, the ego boost, the open door. They were feeding off you like a parasite, disguised as connection. And you? You stayed because you wanted to be the bigger person. You gave second chances. You explained yourself. You waited for change. But change never came because your presence made them comfortable. You were the safety net for their disrespect. That ends now. No contact is not about teaching them a lesson. It's about teaching yourself how to reclaim power. It's about starving the connection that kept you small. It's about burning the bridge without lighting a signal fire. You don't need closure. You don't need their apology. You don't need one final message to make your point. Your silence makes the point louder than words ever could. The absence of explanation becomes the explanation. The void becomes the punishment. And the fact that they don't know what you're thinking, that's what keeps them spinning. But here's the part no one tells you. You will feel the urge to break it, to reach out, to see if they've changed. Don't. That's the test. Every time you stay silent, you rebuild a layer of control. Every time you resist the urge to be understood, you reclaim a piece of your power. Let them sit in the silence they created. Let them feel what life is like without your energy. Let them talk to the empty space. Because your time is no longer up for negotiation. If you're ready to reclaim your peace through silence, comment this right now. No contact is not punishment, it's power. Say it, and mean it. Because when they realize they can't reach you anymore, that's when you win. Part 6. Make them regret losing you, without saying a word. You don't need to send a message. You don't need to write a final paragraph, post a sad quote, or tell them you're gone. Because the real sting, the kind that lasts, doesn't come from what you say. It comes from what you no longer do. No more replies. No more validation. No more access. You disappear. You elevate. You evolve without them. That's how you make them regret losing you. Not with anger. Not with tears, but with silence and success. Machiavelli didn't believe in emotional closure. He believed in outcomes, results, control. And when someone betrays you, disrespects you, underestimates you, the most devastating punishment you can give them is to become untouchable without warning. Let them scroll through your life and realize they've been deleted in reality, but still haunted by you in memory. Let them wonder how you went from explaining yourself to never being reachable. That shift in energy, it cuts deeper than any confrontation ever could. See, when you stop reacting, they lose their script. They expect a breakdown, they expect a scene. They expect you to chase, to beg for answers, to plead for closure. But instead, you vanish, not in weakness, in strength. And you rebuild a version of yourself that no longer requires them. They'll notice. They'll feel the absence of your presence. The silence will echo in their mind louder than your words ever did. Because now you're a question they can't answer, a presence they can't replace, a chapter that ended without warning and that burns. And when they reach out months later with, "I miss you," you won't reply, not out of bitterness, but because you've already outgrown the version of yourself who needed that message. Here's the law. Never try to prove your worth to someone who couldn't see it when you were giving it freely. Let your absence educate them. Stop being the person who explains the storm. Be the one who becomes the storm. If you're done trying to teach people how to treat you and ready to show them what losing you really means, drop this in the comments right now. I disappear in silence, I return in power. Say it, own it, because nothing shatters someone's ego more than realizing the version of you they once ignored is now the version they can never reach again. Part 7. Build a life they can't touch. You want revenge? Build a life so solid, so focused, so untouchable, that even if they wanted to come back, they wouldn't dare. Not because you're bitter, but because your new world has no room for their energy. The most powerful revenge isn't destruction, it's elevation. Not louder, not messier, just better, in silence. Let them see you thriving, but never know how. Let them hear your name, but never again hear your voice. Because when people realize they've lost permanent access to your mind, to your time, to your presence, that's when the real pain hits. Machiavelli understood this well. The best fortress is to be found in the love of the people. But in our world, it's deeper.
The best fortress is your discipline, your self-control, your refusal to let chaos back in. They expect you to fall apart
And spiral, to seek attention, to prove something. But you do the opposite.
and you go cold.
You go focused.
You start waking up earlier. You build a body they never thought you had the discipline to shape. You master skills in silence. You make moves without posting them. You stop leaking your progress and start living like a weapon in training. And the life you're building, not for revenge, it's for respect, self-respect. Because now you're no longer waiting for validation. You're no longer available for disrespect. You don't argue, you don't explain. You just rise. When they look back, they won't recognize you. Not because you became someone else, but because you finally became who you were always meant to be. And the access they lost, it's permanent. Because what you build now is sacred. So guard it, create it. Let your life become so clean, so calm, so untouchable that their chaos gets rejected on impact. If you're ready to create a life they can't penetrate, our mindset they can't manipulate, and our presence they can't handle, comment is now. I build in silence. I protect with fire. Say it like law, because the most feared man is the one who creates quietly and protects what he's built with ruthless precision.
Part 8. Cut ties without guilt and never reconnect. You don't owe anyone your loyalty. Just because you used to laugh with them, you don't owe anyone another chance. Just because they say, "I've changed," and you damn sure don't owe anyone access to your mind after they've already proven they don't respect your peace. Cutting someone off isn't cruelty, it's clarity. Guilt is what they programmed you to feel, so you'd stay available to their inconsistency. So you'd keep reopening the door, even after they slammed it in your face. But Machiavelli taught one of the most powerful principles of all. If someone is a threat to your stability, eliminate the threat completely. Not with violence, with finality, with silence, with non-negotiable detachment. See, guilt keeps you on a leash. It turns you into a forgiving machine, forgiving people who aren't even sorry. And every time you give them another chance, You confirm their belief that you'll never walk away. So when you cut a tie, cut it clean. No checking in. No, I just wanted to say hi. No stalking their updates. No watching their stories from a burner account. Because the moment you look back, you invite confusion. And confusion is the enemy of power. You don't evolve by reconnecting with people who broke you. You evolve by remembering why you left and honoring that memory like a commandment. They may try to crawl back into your life. They may cry. They may say they're different now. But if they had truly changed, you'd never have to hear a word. You'd feel it from their absence, not from their begging. So when that message comes in at 1 a.m., don't open it. Don't reply. Delete it. Because you're not healing to become available again. You're healing to become unreachable. You didn't change your number. You changed your identity. And that version of you who would have responded before, he's gone. You buried him. You burned the bridge. And now you walk alone, not in loneliness, but in sovereignty. If you're done letting guilt drag you back into emotional traps, type this in the comments right now. I cut ties without guilt. I never reconnect. Say it with steel in your voice. Because power isn't just about who you allow into your life. It's about who you never allow back in. Part 9. The new you must be dangerous. The old you was harmless, predictable, available, harmless. But the new you? He must be dangerous. Not violent, not unstable. Strategically dangerous. A man who carries presence like a loaded weapon, silent but undeniable. Machiavelli never admired brute force. He respected the kind of danger that walked into a room without saying a word and still shifted the atmosphere. Not because people feared what you might do, but because they sensed what you're capable of if pushed. That's the new standard. You don't become powerful by being liked. You become powerful by becoming unreadable. By becoming so focused, so composed, so self-controlled that people fear crossing the line with you. Not because you threaten them, but because they don't know how far you'll go to protect your peace. That's the kind of man who doesn't get played.
Doesn't get used. Doesn't get taken for granted. You've been sought for too long.
You let people interrupt your mind. You explained every emotion. You forgave every betrayal. You played the hero in everyone's story, while they played the villain in yours. No more. Dangerous doesn't mean reckless. It means you've killed the version of yourself who needed permission.
It means you've mastered your anger, not buried it.
It means your silence now carries weight, because you no longer speak unless there's purpose behind every word. People will test this. They'll provoke you, question your growth, push your buttons. Smile, let them, because the new you doesn't react. He calculates. And when the time comes to respond,
He does so with precision, not emotion.
not to prove a point, but to enforce a boundary. That's what it means to be dangerous. To be calm when others are emotional.
To be silent when others beg for noise.
To be stable when others crumble under pressure. So let them call you cold. Let them say you've changed. They're right. You've killed the soft version of yourself, and you've replaced him with a man built for war, even if he chooses peace. If you're ready to become the version of yourself that no one dares underestimate again,
Comment this right now.
I am not safe. I am dangerous with control. Say it like law, because the man who's dangerous and disciplined is the one they never see coming, but never forget. Part 10. The final law. Power is quiet. Transformation is violent. Transformation doesn't look poetic. It's not a sunrise. It's not soft music and healing crystals. It's violent, brutal, silent, unforgiving. You don't become powerful by journaling your feelings. You become powerful when you face your darkest truths, alone, without flinching. When you kill off the version of yourself that kept begging for love and replace him with one who commands respect without asking. You've been taught that power is loud, that the strongest man in the room speaks the most, moves the fastest, posts the hardest. But real power is quiet, because the man who knows what he's capable of, it doesn't need to prove it. He walks differently, speaks slower, he listens more, not because he's weak, but because his strength is no longer external. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He warned us, true rulers conceal, true predators observe, true power waits. The transformation you've gone through, it wasn't pretty. It didn't ask for permission. It cost you people, it cost you comfort, but it gave you one thing in return: clarity. Clarity that you'll never be used the same way again, that your energy is not free, that your silence has value, and that the version of you who once begged for closure is now the version who gives none. You move different now. You speak less. You protect more. You build behind the scenes. And when you show up, it's felt, not explained. This is the final law. Power doesn't seek applause. It enforces boundaries. It doesn't need to be loud, because its absence is louder than its presence ever was. And transformation? It doesn't wait for understanding. It burns the past. It scars the soul. And it gives birth to something that walks like a ghost, but thinks like a god. This isn't the end. This is your initiation. You've burned the weak version of yourself. You've mastered silence. You've reclaimed control. You've become dangerous. Now you walk forward, unrecognizable, unreadable, untouchable. Though if this journey woke something up inside you, if you feel that silent evolution taking over your life, and comment this now and let it echo forever. I transform in silence. I return with power. Say it. Claim it. Because from this day forward, you don't speak power. You are power.